So I just wanted to come on here and do a quick video about the status of the LA fires because I've spoken to so many people who live in LA, and I mean, these are raging on. The winds today and tomorrow are like just as bad as they were when they started. Like it's like 64 miles an hour today, and it's going to be worse tomorrow. So they are terrified that this is going to happen again. Do you know how many buildings have burned so far? Almost 13,000 structures. Okay. I want you to envision like a stretch of commercial road, right? Like 2 blocks. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You know, you're talking about like 14 shops maybe on a couple blocks. You're talking 1,000 times that many structures. And a lot of them are these gigantic pieces of real estate, these gigantic, many million-dollar homes, $150 billion in damage. Okay. This is a catastrophe. This is like it's honestly, like, I don't even know how to even reconcile what has happened. Pasadena on fire. Okay. The Hollywood Hills on fire. Palisades gone. Malibu gone. It's now up near Calabasas. Now, what does all of this have in common if you know anything about LA? Okay. It's all the most expensive places. Okay. Beverly Hills and Bel Air are like the only parts of LA that are in the kind of conversation of these areas that are burning down. Like, I don't even know what to make of this. And I watched this documentary earlier today. It was on NBC and it was crazy when they went through the actual timeline. Let me just pull that up actually. It's on my history. Oh my God, you guys are going to see my history. Look at all this stuff that I'm looking at. Oh my God, look at Jesse's stuff. Here it is. Okay, so this is what it looks like right here. And we're going to watch a little bit of it, but I mean, this is insane. Like when you really go through this and it goes through the timeline of when these fires happened, like I'm having a really hard time believing that this is not just straight up arson, okay? Because when they talk about what fires were lit, when and where, it's like a perfect storm of nightmare. Most expensive real estate in the state, you know, or in the country or whatever. And then like, as soon as they start maybe getting this under control, bang, starts over here. An entire canyon, the Eaton fire starts. Then the Hollywood Hills. And then you're like, what's going on, dude? Okay. So let's watch just a little bit of this. I just wanted you to see, you know, like what this looks like. Because honestly, more than anything, I want everyone to go watch this. I don't want to like put this whole thing on here. But let's watch just like a few minutes of it and then let's talk about it. And then I want to talk about what I think might be happening here. My theory of if this is intentional, why? Because this is a big deal. And it might have to do with shifting the entire political landscape in a major way. By the way, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, because videos like this tend to not get promoted very often. If you're not subscribed and you saw, like you got offered this video, that's very rare. So go ahead and subscribe if you enjoy my content, and then you'll get them suggested to you a lot more. But what I think is possible, this is my other thought first. Okay. The Democratic Party is raising money on this. Okay. Like I just watched the Timcast video about this. They're putting up these ads like, please donate to the LA wildfires. And you click on their link and it's going to DNC super PACs. It is disgusting. These people are disgusting. Disgusting. Okay, you want to know the perfect metaphor for the Democratic Party in 2024. Okay, I'm not saying this has not always been like this, and it probably won't be like this forever. But right now, in this moment that we're in, the last, 8 years, and probably for the next foreseeable future, the Democratic Party, this is perfect, okay? So the entire city of LA burns down. Their fault. They cut the fire budget. They rerouted all of the water so that they don't have enough water in Los Angeles. There's an ocean right there. There's an ocean, you know? If you dump seawater onto a fire, is it going to put the fire out? Yes. So I don't understand how Hawaii and LA, right next to the ocean. Like, I know this is like really like heavy brain, but well, you can't put salt water on fires. Yes, you can. It's better than letting it burn, dummy. Okay. But it's their fault. And what do? They go out knowing people are, their heart's hurt and they want to help. And they go, here, if you want to help, give the money here. And this is going to go to the victims of fire. And it's like, no, it's not actually. And you're lying to them. You are taking people's empathy and you're weaponizing it to raise money for your Democrat super PAC. It's disgusting. It's repulsive. Like a person putting that, like I consider myself like a pretty ingenuitive, person in terms of like marketing and like how I do titles and thumbnails and how I'll bring people to my new channel. Like I have a channel, Jesse and Gabi's Play with Matches, and I think of like clever ways to point people in that direction. The link is in the description, by the way. This was not one of those things. But like if I was going, oh, I know people are feeling like they want to donate money. Well, I'll put my super PAC link and I will say that we're raising money for the wildfire victims when in reality we're not. And without naming names, one time someone who I lost a mountain of respect for in this moment, this was a couple of years ago, during the fall of Afghanistan, someone who I watched said that they were raising money for a charity because they needed to find homes for these displaced children who now found themselves under Taliban rule and had fled Afghanistan. Okay, I have 3 daughters. I knew that these Afghani girls had grown up, basically like in a Western style society, because they were only like 10 years old. We had been there for 20. So they're like going to school and all that stuff. And then out of nowhere, now it's like, boom, Taliban, you're going to get married off at age 12. You're not allowed to read. You're not allowed to drive. You have to cover up your face. Like it's just like a complete, and so instead of donating money, I reached out to the charity that person promoted, saying that they were going to place these displaced kids. And I said I would adopt 2 of the girls. I was like, I could take 2 girls. I'll raise them like they're my own. Because I just imagine my own kids going through that. And you want to know what I found out when I talked to that charity? They don't place children. They're like, yeah, we don't place children. Okay, so apparently they had their messages mixed up between the person who said that, who was a part of that charity, and the actual charity, because they promoted the most extreme example of where you're going to empathize with people, exactly what I did. And I'm like, wait, you don't place kids? And they're like, no, there's some kind of misunderstanding that whatever. They didn't even know that he had said it. Okay? That's a tough one for me, dude. Okay? And this is just like that. It's disgusting, dude. All right, let's watch some of this thing.
I saw when the fire first started, so I rushed over here to pack my belongings, and I got the evacuation orders.
Barely 2 hours after the fire broke out, residents began fleeing by car, but some got stuck in their tracks.
The homeowners are saying they're unable to access any exit routes. There's fire on both sides of the roads.
Amid the growing chaos, many abandoned their cars in the gridlocked traffic. Responding fire crews used a bulldozer to clear a path. Crucial minutes ticked by. By 4 p.m., the monstrous fire had gathered even more strength, devouring homes.
What's crazy about that is that all of these areas are so kind of remote because they're so wealthy that there's only one way in and one way out. And that's a simple equation, okay? Like the houses are so enormous that there aren't that many people that can live there. Like if you live in an area where you have big buildings and there are people stacked on top of each other, well, guess what? That's a lot of cars that need to get to those areas, and thus you have a bunch of roads. Well, when each house is like 9,000 square feet up to 25,000 square feet, there's not a lot of people that are going to live in this area, so you don't need a lot of roads. One way in, one way out. Well, when the whole place ends up on fire, guess what? You get a car pileup. And people not having ever been in a situation like that, they got out of their cars and they didn't leave the keys. And so they had to bulldoze them, which is the least of anybody's concerns, if we're being honest. But,
Behind us on Enchanted Way, there's probably 4 homes that were lost. I could see from the roof, I could see a structure on fire, so.
By the way, this is just this is the beginning of the Palisades fire. This is before all the other stuff. That's what I'm saying, is I want you guys to see, like, the sequence of events where it's like, oh, now this part's on fire also. I'm like, what? How did that, like, look at the timing of that.
Fighters tried to attack the flames with airdrops by helicopter as the winds kept driving the fire forward, toppling trees and severing power lines.
The only thing I heard above that wind was the power lines popping.
By 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday, the Palisades fire had already burned more than 1,200 acres and forced the evacuation of thousands.
We were here not too long ago.
California Governor Gavin Newsom declared a state of emergency.
It's incredibly important that we heed the warnings, the calls, that we're not out of the woods by any stretch of the imagination.
Hey, it's lucky he got down there, huh? You know, you're all, hey, so in the most catastrophic fire in the history of the state, potentially the country, actually, what's your role? He's like, well, I am going to go up on a podium and I'm going to say things that any fire chief could say. You're like, that's it? He's like, that's it. I already did my part when I rerouted all of the water to the Pacific Ocean to save a fish or whatever. And, yeah, and when I'm being dismissive of, local residents, that's also me doing my job. It's like, hey, you dramatic bitch, okay? I need to get out of here. She's like, I just lost my home. He's like, I don't care. I don't care. Hey, go, you know what you can do? You know what that, she's all, I would put water in the hydrant myself. He's all, you know what you could do that would be better than putting water in the hydrant is donate to the victims of these fires. She's all, I am a victim. He's like, I know, but you could donate to the other victims because you care so much, right? You said you'd put water in the hydrants. Here's a link. DNC Super PAC. You know what? Let me just say something right now. I want to make sure that I get this in. So hypothetically, if the real masters of the universe, which are above both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, and the only reason that seemed like they were all on the DNC side is because Donald Trump broke the entire system when he got elected, and they pushed all of their money over to the other side. So suddenly they're all on one side for a very short period of time. Now, because they did that and they destroyed the credibility top to bottom of the, organization that they were a part of, since they were just corrupt, is now you have such overwhelming support on the other side that they recognize, we can't do anything from over here, so now we got to go to the other side. If we're going to go to the other side, maybe they're like, let's push everyone over there, okay? And so how are you going to quickly flip your entire entertainment industry to the other side? Because if you think that anyone in Hollywood actually has any firm principles that they believe in, they don't. These people are just like, which way's the wind blowing? And then they take in these messages and they're all virtue signaling to whatever. Like, they don't even know who they are. That's why they're actors, Like, they don't have a real strong sense of self. In most cases would be my guess, And so if you're like, hey man, think about this. We're about family values now. Do you want the choice taken away from you as a parent of whether or not you want a drag queen sitting on your kid's lap? And they're like, you know what? When you put it like that, that's true. You're all, hey, you remember 5 minutes ago when you were screaming about how important it was to do that? What? I thought we're doing Family Matters. I'm just pointing out, you are an invisible person. Like, you are a sheet, okay, with nothing underneath. It just blows with the wind. But so let's say you wanted to flip them around. I have a way to do it. How about you burn all their houses down and then blame it on the Democrats because it's their fault, Pretty easy way to flip the entire entertainment industry on its head. Oh, and then also capture the best real estate in the country. Now let's think about this, you guys. Okay, think about this for a second. What do you think are the two most desirable places to have real estate in the country? All right. If you're going to list them off, right? You're going to list them off. What are the most desirable areas real estate wise in the country? And why don't we exclude the East Coast? Because that's where all these motherfuckers live, right? Probably Maui and this fire. So I'm just saying, is there some reason that wildfires have to happen near the ocean? Seems kind of counterintuitive, right? Is there something about being on the coast that makes you more susceptible to wildfires? Not really, right? And yet the two worst fires are both in areas right next to the ocean that are insanely desirable real estate, and both of the times they ran out of water and had no ability to fight the fires. I'm just saying, dude. I don't have any kind of definitive answer for why, but that seems wildly suspect to me personally.
Governor was right. Just as he and his team were speaking, another fire had broken out in Altadena, a small foothill community to the east of the Palisades. Officials would name it the Eaton Fire, after a canyon near its origin.
Which is sure.
See what I'm saying? Actually, you know what? I'm going to just stop this right here. You guys go watch this. Go watch this episode, and then you tell me. Come back here. Tell me in the comments whether this is wildly suspicious to you in terms of the timing and every other thing. It's disgusting, man. I can't. Anyway, go ahead, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell. I love you guys. Thank you for hanging out. Bye-bye.